Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
Also, if you are looking for something new and different for the upcoming Compliance Week celebration in November, check out The Compliance Kids. It's my 3-book children's series on compliance and compliance professionals for children. But they make great gifts and great training tools for your employees. You can check it out on Amazon.com. We've linked to it in the show notes. The Daily Compliance News for September 12, 2024, the Leaving the Dirty Money List edition. We begin with that story from Bloomberg, which reports that South Africa is on course to exit the FATF's dirty money list in 2025. It was placed on the list in 2023, but hopefully by sometimes next year, South Africa will address the outstanding shortcomings in its illicit financial flows so that it can get off the list by June or perhaps October if there are no surprises. Next up, a very interesting article from Foreign Affairs, which details how corruption has fueled the inequality scandal literally in China, graphed on a staggering scale, warps the country's economy. President Xi Jinping, of course, has had a long and sweeping anti-corruption campaign, but and while many powerful figures have been jailed, the punishments have really not helped the individual Chinese. So China, of course, is very opaque, so it's hard to say what's going on, but it's clear there is a problem. And that really leads to our next story in the Financial Times, where China Renaissance, one of the country's leading tech sector investment banks, at least until the disappearance of its founder, was ordered to wire some $11 million after its star deal maker went missing. Regulators have provided the bank with so little information about the CEO's status after he disappeared that they are having trouble, the bank itself is having trouble coming up with a reason for the payment and how to record it internally. Their difficulties underscore how Beijing's increasingly heavy-handed actions against entrepreneurs have eroded business confidence. And our final story comes to us from Reuters, which reports that a Google executive told colleagues that the goal for the company in 2009 was to crush advertising rivals. Well, guess what? It did just that. And now there's a massive antitrust action against it. Well, if you've been in business, you always want to crush your rivals. So on the one hand, I would say that's a fairly standard business acumen. On the other hand, when you're the biggest and you got to be the biggest because you intended to crush everybody and you've crushed them, well, maybe when the regulators come knocking, you're going to have a problem, and I think Google has that problem now. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.